Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I will be sharing my opinions on what I believe to be the best and most overpowered tier 10 in World of Tanks Blitz. There are a lot of super dangerous vehicles out there. The XM66F features really high DPM, pretty good accuracy, and really good mobility as well, allowing it to be one of the strongest frontline heavy tank destroyer style vehicles in the game. The 183 is kind of a little stinky now with the fact that it has 950 damage per shot, surprisingly good accuracy with the refined gun buffs, and surprisingly good camo. There's a lot of really nasty vehicles out there. However, in my opinion, the most overpowered tier 10 in the game goes to the TVP 5051. I played this tank quite a few battles today, and I was just blown away with how easy it was to deal 5,000 damage in this tank over and over and over. It's just wildly strong. Why? Well, first of all, we have the gun. It does 4 shells, dealing 300 damage each. Not only that, but only a 1.88 second interclip. So 6.5-ish seconds, and you've dealt 1200 damage. I need you to think about that for a second. An FE2 and 5B183 high explosive does around 1200 damage. This has really good accuracy, especially if you're running refined gun. It has 8 degrees of gun depression, and troll armor on the turret and upper plate. Pair that with only 200 less damage per minute than the 183 at 2700, where's the downside? The calibrated shells buff allows this vehicle to have much better standard pen and heat pen, and you're going to notice that the accuracy, nothing really is a problem for this vehicle. So we have a T22 in front of us, and he shoots me once, and I shoot him back for 600. So then we have the Type 71, we get another nice shell, and we back up. So just like that, I've been able to deal 930 damage. That's quite a lot. That's literally 1/3 of 3k. That's a lot of damage. So now, I'm just going to reload my clip, reposition, and do it all again. See, a lot of people look at the TVP, and they say, oh, well, it got nerfed. It doesn't have the same level of accuracy it used to, or mobility, or reverse speed. And sure, that's all true. The vehicle did get nerfed. And it's not as good as it used to be. But it actually gained damage per minute from its previous version, and not only that, it still has great mobility. You're going to notice in this game, the mobility is not nerfed. In fact, I was making fun of just how stupid this vehicle's mobility is. And even though the accuracy got nerfed, because we're gaming buffed refined gun, it doesn't feel like it got nerfed at all. In fact, it feels just as good as ever. So we have the enemy Type 71, we get a nice shell into him, and there's not much for me to really do here. You know, I see the minnow moving up, I see the tanks on my side, and I'm like, alright, well, I might as well just reload the clip, reposition, and focus on doing something else. And you'll notice that, sure, even though in terms of mediums, this is actually the lowest damage per minute medium in tier 10, you have to realize that it's only low because it takes a while to reload the clip. But look, I'm not positioning myself in a spot where the enemy's able to shoot me. I'm sitting behind cover, and I'm in a spot where I'm not going to bleed health. So I can reload an entire clip in 20 seconds, and I'm ready to deal damage once again. And 2700 damage per minute is not bad. In terms of heavies, that's actually really good. So it's not really that bad either for a medium, judging that you have so much damage potential. So I saw the E5 break some obstacles there. You can see that broken car. So the E5 made his way over towards where Flossie's at. We got 2 shells into the Yag, dealing a nice 600 damage, and then we have the enemy Stritzvon K that pokes here, and we're going to get 1 and 2. There you go, 700 damage into his tank. So now we're up to 2400 damage. I've only bled 300 in return, and I'm just going to reload my clip and leave. That E5 turns towards me, and because of that, Flossie's able to get a nice 900 juicer into his rear. And I'm just trying to think of what I really want to do here. I would love to be able to push that E5, but they have a Yag, they have a Stritzvon, and that. The minnow is a big problem. I don't want to position myself in an area where that minnow can possibly nuke me. I have 1600 health, a clip from a minnow does 1500. Yeah, not the best idea. So instead of dealing with the minnow, I see Flossie's getting pushed by the Yag, and he's trying to leave as quickly as possible. So I'm going to try and support Flossie here, get some damage out, and hopefully get this Yag a one-shot for Flossie. So here's the Yag. We're going to aim it on his lower plate and fire. The shell goes a little low, unfortunate, but we get our second. Ooh, we get our third and our fourth. Unfortunately, Flossie gets snapped by the Yag. I don't know if the Yag was actually aiming at me or Flossie. I think he was aiming at me, and the shell went low and hit Flossie. Really unfortunate, but sometimes bad luck happens, right? The good news is that at least the Yag is down on his health. He's at 801. And that means I only need 3 shells to kill him. The 4th is just a guarantee. So we're going to aim it on the Yag, we're going to get 1 shell in, and then we just absolutely violate him. 2 shells into his tank, 3 shells into his tank, he's dead. We're up to 4,000 damage now. And again, you can see why I think the TVP is so wild. And it's because, how do you counter it? Really, what are you supposed to do to counter it if I'm just sitting in cover, reloading my clip, and then poking you for 1200? So we have the Stritzvon K, and I was really, really hoping that I could get a clip into the Stritzvon. And unfortunately, our BZ-75 high explosive pens him right before that. But he still has 800 health. I mean, 800 is a lot of hit points just for a TVP. I was hoping he'd have a little bit more. We get behind the Stritzvon. We're not able to high explosive pen him, but that's fine. We got 1, we got 2, and 3. He's dead, and then we have the rear of the minnow. I was hoping that would pen. It didn't. But that's 5,140 damage dealt at this point. Did this look like a challenging battle? No, it really didn't. Now, you could make the argument that I might be able to deal more in a Progetto or a Kampfpanzer 50-ton. And maybe you're right, but the level of ease at which I was able to get damage out in this game is wild. And you're going to see here the accuracy still feels very, very solid. We get 1 shell, and our second shell goes right into the roof of the minnow. We deal 5,667 damage in this game. We barely even break a sweat, and game's over, just like that. I mean, look at that. It's just so easy to rip out damage. Not only did we get 1,600 base XP, but we even managed to ace the vehicle in that game. So now we're going to make our way back over to the second game in the TVP, this one being on Naval Frontier. And this game is an even wilder battle in terms of just how quickly we are able to get our damage out. Grill 15 is what Flossie's using. The Grill is able to get 580 damage, obviously, as soon as it presses the fire button, but you have to aim in. TVP can deal 600 damage in 1.9 seconds. So, you know, it makes you wonder why you'd ever drive a tank destroyer, because we got 1 and we got 2. We actually did more damage than Flossie did there. We ended up dealing 618 damage. I was waiting for something else to cross, but as we can see, it doesn't appear anybody's crossing, so I'm going to reload the clip. In a tank like this, reload whenever you are not going to be shooting in the foreseeable future. So I've decided, alright, I'm going to reload, and I see Flossie's dealing with some tanks over there. And uh-oh, we got Bobby McDooferson in the cron in front of me. And we are going to get right behind Bobby McDooferson, and this is where the damage goes wild. We get 1 HE, 399, 2 HEs, 798, 3 HEs, 1146, 4 HEs, 1,600 damage. 1,600! That's way more than even a 183 high explosive would roll. Even if you fired standard HE, the average is 1,400. We did 1,600. That is insane. TVP does, I think, 420 damage on the HE, so we actually low-rolled that as well. We could have dealt 1,700, but we just didn't. So we have the Hori, and I actually decided I wasn't going to shoot the Hori because I really wanted to get this 1-2-1. However, 1-2-1 managed to leave. I don't even know how, but he did. So instead we say, all right, fine, we'll get 1, we'll get 2 into the enemy Hori. Both of those end up hitting, so we're already up to 3,000-ish damage at this point. So I'm going to save these 2 shells, and that's because this Hori is still in the open here, so we're going to aim it on his tank. We got a little unlucky on that shell, but we fire a premium shell into his tank. Flossie gets a nice shot. Just like that, we are over 3,000 damage now, so pretty good stuff. Alright, well, what are we going to do? The 1-2-1 is detected, and I said, you know what, I'm getting my damage into that 1-2-1 one way or another. So in 5 seconds, we'll have our clip loaded, and once again, what is this player going to do? If you have 1,100 health in most mediums, that's pretty good, but against a TVP, well, maybe not. 1, 2, 3, and dead. There you go, 6 seconds, we took 1,100 health off of that vehicle. Even a Boss Chatillon can't do this. And don't get me wrong, the Batchat is an overpowered tank right now. It's insane in the fact that it has really good view range, it has super high damage output, it's got all these values going for it. But there's 2 things I have to say about the Batchat. First of all, its view range is being nerfed next update, and same for the armor, which is going to take away a very large portion of its capabilities that it currently has, which allows it to be OP. But the second thing about the Batchat is that it doesn't have flexibility. It doesn't have gun depression. This tank does. I have 8 degrees of gun depression in this tank. And I actually have a pretty troll upper plate, which means that I don't need to worry at all about working ridge lines, where, let's say that last Castilla game at a Batchat would have been very tricky because I would not have been able to get those early game spots and shots out. And that's where the TVP feels much more flexible and why I think it's a much better Batchat. But that's my personal opinion. What I can tell you is that these two games were just a walk in the park. And it's not even these games. Like, I played 4 games in the TVP today, and all 4 of those games were just the easiest battle ever. Like, this game here on Ghost Factory, I wasn't even planning showing it for the video, but like, every single game that I play in the TVP just feels so easy. At the beginning of the game, it's a little bit tricky, because sometimes enemy tanks are either holding, they're hull down, and that's where you're going to be like, okay. By the way, look at the mobility on this tank. Does this look like nerfed mobility? To me, seems pretty freaking fast. So I see the 62A. I know that there's really very little chance I'm going to cut through him, especially if I'm going to load gold. He has 330 damage per shot. I'm just not going to really bother about the 62A. So I decided here, I said, well, I actually can't do anything. I'm going to cross. I knew that the Vickers was going to shoot me, but he didn't shoot high explosive, so it was only 297. It's not that big of a deal. So at this point, I'm like, all right, well, I'm glad I'm out of that position because there's nothing I can do there. Let's move over here. And we have the 183 spotted. So I got 1 shell into the 183, 2 shells. There you go. Even though both low roll, that's still 570 damage. That's the same damage that most tank destroyers would deal. So I'm thinking, should I reload the clip or should I not? I see the Vickers crossing, and I also see the 62A crossing. So I got 1 shell in. We're not able to get the second one out, so I reload the clip. We're already up to 839 damage. I see that my Rhino is getting rushed by those 2 players. And those are decent players. You know, they're doing a good job. That Vickers player's Gosu. Gosu's usually okay at the game. So our Rhino is going to die, which is a problem because our 4005 is also dead. But you know what? Let's get their 4005 cleared as well. We get an HE. He's not running Spall, but it doesn't really matter because he's dead either way. That 4005 was absolute toast, overpoked, and died. So we're up to 1500 damage now. Flossie is getting shot, but he gets a really nice slap into that enemy Conf Panzer, which really helps out on this flank of the map. So I fell back, and that was actually really good for our team because it caused the enemy to over-aggress, and when they over-aggress, we were able to catch them off guard. Now I'm going to push the Yo. Name another medium that can deal the amount of damage I'm about to do to this Yo. You might say the Progetto, but the Progetto doesn't have as fast of a intro clip. So I get 1 into the Yo, I get 2 into the Yo, he's dead, 637 damage. Then I see that the 183's over here, and the 183 just shot, so I'm going to aim it on his tank. We got 1, and I'm going to make sure I track him as well so he can't really back up too far. So there you go. Now we get some damage into the 183. At this point, I'm now sitting at 2,700 damage, and I'm going to leave and reload. I mean, this tank is just wild. It really is. Again, this is just a cakewalk. No other tank would be able to do this easily. The only other tank that might have been able to is a Progetto, but the Progetto's accuracy is so much worse, especially when you compare it to the aiming time in intraclip. So I aim it on the E3. 1, 2, 3, and look at that. 4. That's 1,250 damage. I just brought a full health tank destroyer to 603, bled 0 health myself, and I'm gone. I mean, that's 4,000 damage. This is just a wild tank. Now, I know for a fact there are going to be people that climb into the comments and say, oh, you're dead wrong. I don't do very well in the TVP. And I'm going to be honest. If you're not doing well in this tank, it's not the vehicle's fault. I like to praise honesty on this channel. And it might sting a little to hear that, but it's the truth. The TVP in a good player's hands is just insane. It really is. It's very hard to counter a tank that does 1,200 damage, has really good mobility, 8 degrees of gun depression, and troll armor. It's a beast. So I really enjoy playing in this tank, and I think a lot of people out there would as well. The problem with most TVP players is they just YOLO because they think they have all this damage output. They YOLO in, they instantly die, and then they complain about the tank. This is not a vehicle that you should play aggressive in. It's a tank that you need to methodically pick and choose your opponents apart. I play it just like I play a bat chat. The difference is that I actually have gun depression in this tank, which allows me to be so much more flexible. Think of that map we just played on. I was able to use my gun depression, get hull down, get some nice shots out, reposition. That would be a lot harder to do in a vehicle like a Boss Shotgun. So I really like the TVP. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. See you in the next one. Bye-bye!